So good morning, my dear students. Welcome back to computer class. Yesterday, we have written some programs to calculate area of a triangle, area of a rectangle, and area of a circle, and area. Okay. Circle. Today, we will start new lesson, that is control statements. So here in this program, all statements are executed step by step, one after the other. Now the chapter which I am going to start is control statements. These statements controls the flow of execution of instructions. So in these programs, there were no branching, there were no looping. Instructions were executing one after the other. Suppose in a program, there is a branching. The control may go towards right, the control may go towards left, the control may repeat the statements, execution of statements. These control, flow of execution is controlled by control statements. So today's lesson is control statement. Control statements. As I told you, control statements controls the flow of execution of instructions. We have two types of control statements. One is branching statement or selection statement. Selection statements. The other one is iteration statement or looping statements. Iteration statement or looping statements. Control statements are of two types. One, selection statement. Selection statement. Second one is iteration statements. Iteration statements are they're also called iteration statements are also called looping statements. Okay, the first one is selection statements. So the second one is iteration statements or looping statements. We'll start with selection statements. Selection statements are used to select the set of statements or block of statements. Or you can say selection statement is used to make decision. Selection statements are used to make decision. Basically, 5 selection statements are there. One is if statement, if else statement, nested if statement, switch statement, and else if ladder statement. So selection statements are 5. They are if statement, if else statement, nested if statement, else if ladder, and switch statements. 5 selection statements are there. So one if statement. That is if statement. Second one is if else statement. If else statement. Third one is nested if statement. Nested if statement. Fourth one is if else if ladder. If else if ladder statement. Next one is this is fourth one. Fifth one is switch statement. Okay, these are the 5 types of selection statements. If statement, if else statement, nested if statement, if else if ladder, and switch statement. So first we start with if statement. If statement. If statement is a selection statement. It's used to take decision. If statement is used to take decision. It contains a test condition. If test condition is true, then statements in the if block are executed. If test condition is false, no statement in the if block are executed. It goes to next statement. Control goes to next statement. Okay, so it is an if statement. It is a selection statement. It is a selection statement. It is used to make decision. It is used to make or take decision. Okay, decision. It contains block of statements. It contains test condition. It contains test condition. It contains test condition. If test condition is true, then statements in the if block are executed. If test condition is true, then statements in the if block are executed. then statements in the if block are executed. If test condition is false, if test condition is false, if test condition is false, then no statement in the if block are executed. Okay. No statement in the if block are executed. Control goes to next part of the program. Then control goes to next part of the program. Right. Okay. The syntax for this is, I'll write the syntax. Syntax. If test condition open brace statements. Okay, write statements here. Statement 1, statement 2, that's statement 10. Close this. Then next statement. It is outside the if block. Okay, next statement. So when the control comes here, it will check the test condition. If test condition is true, control goes inside the if block and these statements are executed. Then it goes to next part. If test condition is false, control doesn't come here. It skips the statements. Directly goes to other part of the program. If test condition is false, all these statements are skipped. Control goes to next part of the if block, that is, it goes to next statement. Okay. Repeat it once again. Control comes here for execution of if statement. It will check the test condition. If test condition is true, if control comes inside the if block, then these statements are executed. Then it goes to next part. Then next part of the programs are executed. Next statements in the program are executed. If test condition is false, control doesn't come inside the if block. It skips. It goes outside. Then it goes to next part of the program. Next instructions in the program. If block is skipped. Okay. This is execution of if statement. Okay, if condition is true, control comes inside, then statements in the if block are executed. Then it goes to next part, the program, that is next instruction. If test condition is false, control doesn't enter inside the if block, it skips, it neglects these statements, it goes out of the if block, and next statements are executed. Okay? Right. Go ahead. Blow it up. Okay. If test condition here, if test condition is true, statements statement again. If it is false, comes here. Next statement. Okay, look here. Control comes here. It will check the test condition. If test condition is true, control enters into the block. The statements in this block are executed. If test condition is true, control enters inside the if block and statements in the if block are executed. Then it goes to next statement, right? Okay. If test condition is false, control goes out of if block. It goes like this. All these statements are skipped. It comes here. It goes to next part of the program. That is, next instruction is executed. If test condition is false, these statements are neglected. Control goes out of if block and goes to next statement. Right? Okay. Next is if-else statement. So next statement is if-else statement. Control statements. Second control statement is selection statement is if-else statement. If-else statement. Here, in if-else statement, it's also selection statement. It's also used to make decision. Here, it contains two blocks. It contains two blocks and one test condition. If test condition is true, then statements in the one block are executed. If test condition is false, then statements in the another block are executed. Okay? But in previous case, in if statement, it contains test condition, but only one if blocks, only one block of statements. If condition is true, then statements in the block were executed. If test condition is false, it skipped the statements in the if block, then it goes to next part of the program. In if else, one test condition, two blocks of statements. If test condition is true, statements in the one block are executed. But if test condition is false, then statements in the other block are executed. Clear? Okay. If else statement. It's a selection statement. It is a selection statement. It's a selection statement. It contains a test condition. It contains a test condition and two blocks of statements. Two blocks of statements. Right? Two blocks of statements. If test condition is true, statements in one block are executed. If test condition is true, then statements in one block are executed. Which block? That depends upon the test condition. Executed. If test condition is true, then statements in one block are executed. If test condition is false, if like I said, else statements in the other block are executed. Else, that's what's called if else statement. Else statements in another block are executed. But selection of block depends upon the test condition. How you are going to write the test condition. Based on test condition, selection of block takes place. Okay? Another block are executed. Selection of blocks depends on the test condition. depends on test condition. Okay, right. Clear? Okay. All right, syntax for this. Every time you have to write, you have to explain statement, then syntax, then block. So we never explain. The question would be explain if-else statement. First write the definition, then write the syntax, then write the block diagram. These three are essential. So syntax is syntax. If test condition, if test condition, opening brace, statements, okay, statement, else, opening brace, statements, else statement here. Right. Close this. Here, when the control comes here, it will check the test condition. If test condition is true, control comes. Statements in this loop are executed. Statements in this block are executed. If test condition is false, these statements, the statements in this block are skipped, control goes next block of else statements. It goes to statements in else part if. So when the control comes here, when the control comes here, it will check the test condition. If test condition is true, then statements in this block are executed. Then it goes to next statement. Next statement. If test condition is true, statements in this block are executed and control goes to next part of the if-else construct. Then it proceeds. If test condition is false, if test condition is false, these statements are skipped. Control goes here, it goes to else part and statements in the else part are executed. Then it goes to next statements. Then it goes to next statement. Okay. If test condition is false, these statements are neglected. Control goes to else part of the if else statement. Then these statements are executed. Then it goes to next part of the program, that is next instruction. Clear? Okay. I'll draw block diagram for this. Block diagram. For if else statement. So this is the control. If test condition, just a minute. Okay, right. Here, if test condition if test condition is true, controls goes this side. You can find anyone. True comes here. And statements in this block are executed. Statements are executed. If it is false, control comes this side. Then statements is block are executed. Okay. Now, the next one, next instruction. Okay, next instruction. Look here, control comes here. It will check the test condition. If test condition is true, then control comes towards right side. True, true. This you call it as true block. You call it as false block. Or statements in the false block, statements in the true block. If test condition is true, control comes this way, then it executes statements in this block. Then it goes to next part of the program. These statements are script. If test condition is false, these statements are script. Control goes this side. That is flow of instruction. It is flow control is moving towards these statements. And statements in this block are executed and it goes to next stage. Okay? So this is if else statement. I think it's clear, right? Third one is nested if statement. Nested if statement. Nested if statement. This nested if statement, as the name indicates, nest. One if statement is defining another if statement. Nested if statement means if one if statement is defined in another if statement, then it's called nested if statement. It contains two test conditions. It contains two test conditions. Outer test condition for outer if. Second test condition for inner if. First test condition is true, then control goes inside. Then it will check for next test condition. If next test condition is true, then it goes inner if block, inner if statements. Right? It means two levels of test conditions. One is outer test condition. Second one is inner test condition. If outer test condition is true, then control comes inside the if block. Then it will go for inner if test condition. Then if inner test condition is true, then statements in the inner if block are executed. Okay, let me see. Nested if statement. Here, one if statement is here. If statement is one if statement. Here, one if statement is defined in another if statement. Here, one if statement is defined in another if statement. Another if statement. Okay, if here one if statement is defined in another if statement. If outer test condition for outer if statement is true, then control goes inside. If outer if test condition for if test condition for if test condition for outer if test condition for outer if block. If test condition for outer if block. Is true, outer if block is true, then control enters, then control enters inside the if block. Okay. Then test condition for inner if block is tested. Okay, here what if statement is defined with another if statement. If test condition is true for outer if block, if test condition is true for outer if block, if test condition is true for, if test condition is true for if test condition is true, if test condition is true, here one statement is defined in another statement. Here, one if statement is defined in another if statement. Okay. If test condition for outer if block is true, then control enters inside the if block. If test condition is true, if test condition for outer if block is true, then control enters inside the if block. Enters here inside the if block, right? If test condition for outer if block is true, there are outer if block and inner if block. If test conditions for outer if block is true, then control enters inside the if block. Okay. Then test condition for inner block is tested. Then already now your outer involved in outer if block. Then test conditions are inner. I will draw the block and you will understand. Then test conditions are inner if block is tested. Okay. Inner block is tested. If test condition is true, then control goes inside the inner if block. Then control goes inside the inner if block. Okay, right? If test condition is false, it skips inner block, it goes to next part of the program. If test condition for inner block is false, then inner block is neglected, false, then statements in the inner block are neglected. Okay, inner block are neglected. Then control goes to then next statements in the program are executed. Okay, neglected. If test condition for outer if block is false, whole if block is neglected. Control goes to next part of the program. Okay. Okay. If test condition for inner block is true, inner block is false, then statements in the inner block are neglected. Neglected. Then control goes to next part of the program. Goes to next part of the program. Okay. Next part of the program. Right. Say user carefully. Nested if statement. Here, one if statement is defined in another statement. If test condition for outer if block is true, then control enters inside the if block. Then test condition for enters inside the if block. Okay, right. Then test condition for inner if block is tested. Then test condition for inner if block is tested. If test condition is true, inside the inner if block, inside the inner if block. If test condition for inner if block is false, then statements in the inner block are neglected. Then control goes to next part of the program. Okay. If test condition for outer block is if test condition for outer if block is false, outer if block is false, then whole if block is neglected. Then whole if block is neglected. Control goes to next part of the program. Control goes to next. Okay, right. I think that's clear. I draw the block diagram. Just read the statements. Here, one if statement is defined in another if statement. If test condition for outer if block is true, then control answers inside the if block. Then test condition for inner if block is tested. If test condition is true, then control goes inside the inner if block. If test condition for inner block is false, then statements in the inner block are neglected. Then control goes to next part of the program. If test condition for outer if block is false, then whole if block is neglected. Control goes to next part of the program. Clear? Okay. I'll draw the I'll write syntax and block diagram so that it will be more clear to you. Syntax. If test condition right opening brace again if test condition opening brace, here are some statements. Statement 1, statement 2, here are number of statements. Okay, then close this inner block, then close this outer block. Next part, next instruction. Okay, look here. First, this is outer block. This is outer block. This is inner block. You can say this is inner block. Outer block, inner block. When the control comes here, it will check the test condition. If test condition is true, comes inside. Again, it will check for the test condition for inner block. If this test condition is true, control comes inside and these statements are executed. Then it goes next part. I'll repeat. When the control comes here, it will check the test condition for outer if block. If this test condition is true, control comes inside. Now, test condition for inner if block is checked, tested. If this test condition is true, statements in the if block are executed, then control goes to next part. Okay, right. Again, control comes here. If this test condition is true, control comes inside the outer block. It will check the test condition. If this test condition is false, control skips these statements. It goes to next part of the program. Okay? Is it clear? It will check the test condition. If test condition is true, it comes inside the if block. It will check the test condition for inner block. If this test condition is false, these statements are neglected. It goes out of inner block and it goes to next instruction. Right? Clear? Okay. When the control comes here, it will check the test condition. If test condition is false, whole block is neglected. Control goes here, goes out of the block, and these instructions are executed. Control neglects whole if block. No statements in the if block are executed. It goes to next part of the program. Okay, this is the syntax. Right? Okay, I'll draw the block diagram for this. Okay. Block diagram for next statement. Okay. Here, control comes. Right. If test condition, if it is true, test condition is true, then it comes here. Again, we check parts in the block. If test condition okay. In the if test condition okay. If it is true, if it is false, it is true, the statements are executed. Statement 1, statement here. That equals to, if it is false, next expression. Okay, right here. So it comes here. False, true, false, equals here. Okay, look at it. Control comes here. If test condition for outer if block, this is outer, this is inner. If test condition for outer if block is true, control comes inside. Then it is check for test condition for inner if block. If this test condition is true, then this state comes inside, these statements are executed, then it goes to next one. Right? Control comes here. It will check the test condition for outer if block. If test condition for outer if block is true, comes inside. It will check for test condition for inner if block. If this test condition is false, control skips these statements. It neglects these statements. It goes to next part. Before, right? Control comes here. It will check the test condition for outer if block. If this test condition is false, whole block is neglected. Control goes out of the block. It goes to next exception. Right? Is it clear? So control comes here. It will check the test condition for outer if block. If test condition is false, this whole statement, whole if block is neglected. Whole inner if block is neglected. Control goes to next part of the program. Right? So tomorrow I'll explain else if ladder and switch statement. Okay? Thank you.